So we're knackered in the day, yet can't sleep at night.
20 minutes of Nidra can make you feel like you've had 3 hours sleep.
What made you choose that very stressful decision of starting your own festival?
Glastonbury had asked us to host the Radio One stage. So we kind of gave it some life, and Glastonbury loved it, Radio One loved it, and then we just thought, hold on, we could kind of do this ourselves. We trotted on down to the Isle of Wight, found a beautiful spot down there, and 6 months later we're opening the gates to first festivals.
So what led you from electronica music, creating big festivals, to now studying meditation?
I had some sort of crazy episode at one of the festivals. Mentally, I was just overloaded and I just kind of overcooked myself. If you look at yoga teachers, meditation teachers, it's no accident that most of them have come from a place of needing it rather than just going, oh, I might be a yoga teacher. That's a great idea. We weren't designed to live this crazy 21st century lifestyle. You know, you wake up, the phone's going off, and then just bombarded with this constant typewriter chitter chatter in your brain of just like, you must do this, you must do that.
Hello, Rob Bank.
Hello, Fearne Cotton.
Pleased to
meet you. Yeah, how are you?
I'm really good. Do you know what I was thinking yesterday? When did we meet? I wouldn't even be able to guess a year.
Mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Mid 2000s.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, when did I join? Because you were at Radio One long before me.
Was I?
I think.
No,
Weren't you?
Was I 2008 maybe?
Oh, maybe around the same time. I think I joined in 2005. Maybe I was there before you.
Tried to erase it from my memory. No, only joking. Radio One, I loved every minute.
I have too. No, I think it was about 2005 I joined, maybe. But around that era, we were both at Radio One.
Yeah.
But we were sort of not moving in the same circles there even, because we had different time slots. We'd sort of see each other at big live events or weird Radio One meetups,
or the dreaded and this we're off to a bad start. It sounds like, being at Radio One was like the 12 years I spent there was amazing, one of the best things I've ever done. But the thought of going to it was the Christmas party, wasn't it?
Christmas party.
The Christmas party. We all had to have our photo taken. In the analogue days where we all had to stand there arm in arm pretending we all loved each other, and me and Annie Nightingale would be off in the corner drinking cocktails,
Annie.
Trying to get through it, Annie. And but yeah, it was probably one of those.
Yes, without a doubt. They were very strict. I mean, I hate all Christmas parties, so that one I didn't particularly love going to at all. Yeah, I'm not into them at all. But I'm interested to know, because I don't know, what led you to Radio One in the first place and to your love of music and electronica. All I've sort of seen online and what I know of your past in a sort of musical tense is that you played the trombone.
Yeah, my dad will be pleased that you got that in.
Yes.
Yeah, I played the trombone in my dad's brass band. So
that was the start of it all.
It was, yeah. I had quite a sort of traditional upbringing, you know, brass bands and, village carnivals and stuff like that. So but then somehow I discovered John Peel on the radio and started thinking maybe something in music. But I mean, the whole Radio One thing was totally accidental. I started a club in London. It got quite well known. It was called Sunday Best, which went on to become Bestival. And one day I got a call from Radio One saying, it must have been on an answer phone on a landline, well before mobile phones, going, would you like to come and do a pilot for Radio One? So I absolutely pooed myself for about 3 weeks, went and did a pilot, thought that was the most embarrassing, worst thing ever. And then, yes, we'd love you to start next month on Radio One. So, yeah, and I got the kind of chill out show. So that was my start. And then it was pure imposter syndrome from that moment onwards. Looking over my shoulder, I'm going to get kicked out any minute. God, there's so many better DJs in here.
But how weird that so many of us felt like that. Having spoken to, even Annie Mac's been on this podcast, but speaking to a lot of the DJs since leaving, most people feel like that because it's such a strange... The actual working environment is really insular. You're pretty much on your own, maybe one producer, maybe two.
Yeah. And
you just live in that little bubble and turn up, do your show and leave. So the sort of cross-pollination of what you know about other people and their shows is really minimal. So you all end up thinking everyone else is better, everyone else is nailing it more. So I had the biggest imposter syndrome, probably until the day I left, I would say.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, I'm not really like that. I'm pretty I'm shy but confident, and I I felt totally confident doing it, but equally it was like, wow, at some point they're going to sort of discover who I am. And it took 12 years. Took 12 years. Yeah, I'm a secret trombone player from a small village. But yeah, it was the best time. I mean, I'm sure a lot of your listeners won't really necessarily be in the era of John Peel and Giles Peterson and Mary Ann Hobbs and Annie Nightingale. But yeah, so going into those Christmas parties, although it was sort of like, it's like, wow, Chris Moyles and Vernon Kay and Sarah Cox and you guys, the big sort of headline stars, and then there was the sort of cool underground.
You were the cool guys.
We were the cool guys. But,
you really were.
Yeah, with the salary to match.
Very cool salary.
Cool salary.
Oh, bless Annie Nightingale. I sort of can't believe that she's not here anymore.
No, it's really sad. I mean, Annie was one of the real people that took me under her wing when I started at Radio One, because I was absolutely terrified and thought didn't know how any of the knobs and dials work. Didn't realise that being a Radio One DJ, you don't just sit there kind of occasionally opening your mouth. You have to do everything.
Everything.
Or at least
terrifying.
You did in those days. And it was pre-digital, so you're starting up records, which then, there's fluff on the needle, and the needle goes, and you're trying to talk at the same time, you're trying to put the needle back on the record, it's at the wrong speed, and then, Annie Nightingale was like, don't worry about it, Rob, just talk to the listeners, pretend you're down the pub with them. And John Peel was the same. They were amazing kind of mentors there.
Yeah, Annie Nightingale's autobiography is so worth a read if anyone listening to this hasn't read it. It's her career and her story just spans decades and different genres and all these amazing cultural transitions. She was just incredible. So let's talk about moving from doing your club night in London to then having a festival and multiple festivals. As you know, I love coming to Camp Festival. Me and my kids absolutely adore it. It is the best day out.
Big up Dorset.
Oh, big up Dorset. And you guys have managed to create this beautiful atmosphere where every member of the family has something to do and is stimulated and excited. It's just, I'm in awe of it. Running the Happy Place Festival, which is a teeny little festival in comparison. I walk around going, how have you done this? It's so huge. And obviously before Camp Festival, you had Bestival. So what made you choose that very stressful decision of starting your own festival?
I mean, you'll see a theme throughout this time that we're together that is like happy accidents. So, us and me and Josie and some friends were in the pub. We'd been doing kind of stages at Glastonbury. Glastonbury had asked us to host the Radio One stage. We'd got like Fatboy Slim and Basement Jaxx and some other lunatics at that time. We sort of started this dressing up thing just as a joke, just to try and add some colour to the stage. We had like lilos and giant blow up crocodiles and stuff, which sounds daft now in the days of Steve Aoki and birthday cakes, and it's all the rage. But back then, no one was really doing that, and DJs were just like boring guys sort of mixing two records. But we kind of gave it some life, and Glastonbury loved it, Radio One loved it, and then we just thought, hold on, we could kind of do this ourselves. So we trotted on down to the Isle of Wight, found a beautiful spot down there, and 6 months later we're opening the gates to the first festival. So
wow. More stressful than you'd anticipated?
Yes, possibly the most grey hair inducing experience of my life. So yeah, it was mad. It's like me and Josie, a couple of mates, and then we pulled in all our mates. So Josie was running the bar. She had her own bar in East London, so she was like, right, I'll do the bars. I was like, well, I'll obviously do the music. Our friends will do the tickets, and we'll do the the marketing or whatever. Within hours of us opening, we realised we hadn't got anywhere near enough security. I was stopping people burning toilet rolls into the woods, trying to set those on fire.
Okay.
David Icke was in the woods on a sort of experimental, illegal sound system, kind of doing a lecture in there. I was having to sort of turn that off. There were, bands turning up like, Robbie, get up here, get up there. I think maybe mobile phones were around, but I mean, this really dates me. But, it was not the land of high technology.
Yeah.
So we probably had a walkie-talkie, and it was like
wow,
running around trying to do everything, and proper baptism of fire. But then, there's only 4,000 people at the first one, which sounds like a tiny amount. But when I stood there and Basement Jaxx came on, who were just getting really massive, I just thought, this is like the best thing in the world. I could not believe it. It looked like a sea of people. It looked like main stage Glasgow.
Yes.
But it was about 3,000 people.
That's incredible, though. And now, Camp Festival's a monster. You've got so many people. What is the capacity now? 20.
So Dorset's 30, and then we've launched the second one in Shropshire, so that's about 20 at the moment.
Yeah. So how are the stress levels for that? Because to do something of that size, an operation like that, you've got to be good at managing stress. You've got to be good at delegation. That's something I find incredibly challenging. You've got to be really good with thinking on your feet and being really flexible because nothing goes to plan. Like on a tiny level, again, we only have 3,000 people a day at our festivals over the course of 2 days, so 6,000 per festival. Last year we had 70-mile-per-hour winds and a yellow weather warning on the Saturday. I thought I was going to combust.
I remember it. I was stood on the stage.
Oh yeah, you were there. You were DJing.
I was supposed to be DJing.
I was literally like, what? And actually the thing that stressed me out the most was my mum getting stressed. And I was like, why is she getting stressed about? She's not even organising it or doing it. But her stress was making me feel stressed. And I was like, oh my God. You're out of control because there's so many elements. There are variables on the day that you have no control over. So you've got to be good. Are you naturally good at dealing with that stuff?
Yes. Weirdly,
that's handy.
I don't know why that is. I am good at delegating. So on some of your points, it is really good to delegate.
Yeah.
And probably my team, if any of them are listening to your esteemed podcast, are probably sat home going, yeah, he loves delegating. Because I literally get an email, bat it off to someone, get an email.
Nice.
I'm very good at sort of doing that, but I think people know that's what I do. But yeah, it's not very helpful if you've got a team of people that are like, oh, there's really big winds coming.
No, luckily our Happy Place team were like extremely cool cucumbers.
Yeah,
love that.
You need a good team, and that really is what Bestival was. That's what Camp Bestival is. It's an amazing team of people, a tiny team. There's 6 of us full time on Camp Bestival. But then that expands to, as you know, hundreds, thousands of people during the actual festival. So in the heyday of Bestival, we were 60,000 capacity, and we probably had about 5,000 to 8,000 people working with us on the festival. So massive operation. But once everyone kind of gets into doing their job, they know what they're doing, then it all flows like clockwork.
So brilliant. Do you actually get time during the weekends to sit back and go, I'm really enjoying this?
Probably more so at Camp Bestival. I mean, Bestival, if anyone remembers that festival, it was like 24-hour party people. It was like non-stop. It was running from the morning till 4, 5 in the morning. Everyone would get in bed, have a couple of hours sleep, and then it would be starting up again. So that was pretty punishing, and I think that's one of the reasons why we stopped doing Bestival, because it was just like, wow, we can't sustain this. But yeah, camp is what I love about camp is that by midnight, 1 in the morning, things are running till 2, some silent discos and stuff, but by 1 in the morning, pretty much everyone's in bed.
Yeah.
Everyone's knackered. The kids have had an amazing day. Weirdly, you'd think it would be a campsite of tents full of screaming kids and noisy campsite in the night, but
they're knackered.
It's silence. So and then it all starts again at 9 in the morning. So it's for older people like me, it's great. It's like middle-aged festivaling.
That's where we're at. We've tailored our careers to just suit where we're at, and I like that. It's needed.
Well, I've got kids going off to Boardmasters and Reading and all those things, and I'm just like,
yeah. We've been there and we've done it.
Yeah,
we've been there and we've done it. We've got the T-shirt.
Don't need to do it again.
So what I'm really interested in as well is it's not necessarily a full-on pivot for you, because you've still got one foot heavily in the music scene in multiple ways, but you have had this pivot where meditation, wellness, sauna culture, all the things I want to talk to you about have become a huge portion of who you are outside of work, but also what you're doing in your career as well. And we're really lucky that we get to have you on the Happy Place app. So for anyone listening that doesn't know what the app's about, we've got all sorts on there: breath work, meditation, yoga, ASMR, a whole host of things. And you provide Yoga Nidra for us. So first of all, let's establish what that is for anyone that hasn't heard of it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yoga Nidra is kind of a guided meditation, if you will. So it's very based in the ancient Vedic tradition coming from India of yoga, and some people will think of yoga and think of Lululemon leggings and sort of asana physical yoga, but this is more the whole union of mental and physical yoga, and so Yoga Nidra has got nothing to do with being on the mat and bending and stretching. It's all in the mind, but it's essentially just a guided meditation. So Nidra will lead you through kind of different chapters. So there'll be some visualization in there, there'll be some breathing, there'll be a rotation of consciousness where I name a body part and you take your attention there. And within this sort of 20 to 30 minute time frame, you get taken into this very, very deep other state. It's quite hard to describe without actually doing it. So get on the Happy Place app and try one out.
It's game changing. Do you know what? I discovered Yoga Nidra specifically when I was pregnant with my son, who's 11, and I was feeling so fatigued in the day, and I was still working. So I can't remember who it was. I think it might have even been Zephyr, who's also on the app, who said to me, "Have you tried Yoga Nidra?" And again, I assumed, like you say, it was a physical practice, and I was like, "I'm not moving." And it's not. And it's this, I don't know where I first listened to it, but these guided meditations that I listened to that, as you say, go through all of these different physical parts of your body. I would go into the deepest sleep, like this nap for about an hour, and come out the other side feeling absolutely fine. Having been on my knees, like just feeling rubbish, to feeling like I could continue with the rest of the day if it was in the middle of the day, or I could get really deep sleep afterwards. It's so amazing how it takes you to that place. What's going on in the body and the mind when we're in that sort of state? How is the meditation taking us there?
Yeah, so you're going from, and I always get this wrong, but I think you're going from your beta, fight or flight state into an alpha state. And you're going down in sort of states of consciousness, and going back to your sort of rest and digest, tapping into your parasympathetic system, and all that sort of the stress stuff is disappearing as you kind of float down it within yourself. And that's what's so clever about it, because these sort of little exercises that you do in it all take you deeper and deeper, and you're totally conscious and aware, so you can kind of hear whoever's voice it is that's guiding you, and you know you're awake, and you occasionally get a little reminder saying you're awake, you're in Yoga Nidra, you're not asleep. But it's just amazing. And I think it's scientifically, it's like 20 minutes of Nidra can make you feel like you've had 3 hours sleep. But like you described, so it's
so clever, because why I think we should all, if we can, give these practices a go is because it's become so normal for us to be in fight or flight. That has been totally normalised, that we're stressed out most of the time, that we're running on adrenaline, that we just run from one stressful situation to the next in the day. And we're all in that cycle. I mean, on varying degrees, depending on whereabouts you live, if you're in a city versus maybe a rural area, or what your job is, or what your family setup is. But for the majority of us, we're in fight and flight way more than we should be. Yeah. So these practices just give us a little chance to go, I'm just going to step out of that for a bit. How did you discover this world of, because this is a whole new training that you've gone down, and I know your wife's trained to be a yoga teacher. Like, this for you guys is not only to help your own stress levels, but this is also something you're deeply passionate about teaching. So what led you from electronica music, creating big festivals, to now studying meditation?
I mean, it wasn't like I suddenly sat down and was like, wow, I need to do something for myself. Me and Josie learnt transcendental meditation about 25 years ago. So we had learnt that, but I think I've always led this sort of super hedonistic lifestyle balanced with a super kind of wellness lifestyle, or whatever it was called back then. I'd be out raving, and then I'd still be meditating, and then gradually the raving subsided and the meditation kind of levels went up, which was a necessary thing. And I think I hit some sort of, I had some sort of crazy sort of episode at one of the festivals. I remember watching the Chemical Brothers, and I was running the festival and just feeling very, very odd. And I kind of went into this, it wasn't a breakdown as such, but I think mentally I was just overloaded. And I went to see a CBT therapist afterwards, and she was like, imagine you're like a sort of vessel, you are just overflowing. And I just kind of overcooked myself, not with drugs and alcohol, it was just work. I was just like totally burnt out. And at that point, so that was maybe 10 years ago, at that point I was like, okay, better slow down on that side of things, better ramp this side up. And so I already had that grounding in meditation, already sort of knew a bit about breath work, went to live by the sea, started getting into cold water swimming. So it's the kind of cliched thing, but I think, if you look at yoga teachers, meditation teachers, it's no accident that most of them have come from a place of needing it rather than just going, I might be a yoga teacher. That's a great idea. It's like, I need to be a yoga teacher. I need to teach meditation. It's something you kind of...
Yeah. And burnout will take you there. And again, I think burnout is something that none of us really take seriously enough. We don't take it seriously until we're in it. We don't ever look and think, I'm probably headed towards that, the rate I'm going. And again, we're all trying to do way too much, whether it's work or social commitments or juggling that with family or just the bombardment we have constantly on our phones and our laptops of information, communication. We feel we have to get back to people constantly. And I think looking at burnout is so important, and also understanding when you're at it, because it's not just physical. You've got the physical burnout, you've got the mental burnout, you've got the emotional burnout, and you've got, however you want to label this, spiritual burnout, like your connection to whatever it is that you
I didn't even realise there were 4 burnouts.
Yeah,
now I'm really fearful.
I think it's the 4 that create the big one where you have hit it. Do you know what I mean? I think all 4 components take you to your knees and you're like, I'm out of kilter here. And it's certainly why I had a big career pivot and do everything I'm doing, because I was absolutely at that place. Probably the mental burnout bit being the biggest sign for me, the biggest red flag of I am just not happy with where I'm at and what I'm doing and what my belief system is and how this industry works, and all of it just sort of fell away. And I think you do naturally then start to look for things that feel better. And obviously you already had that grounding in knowing that meditation worked for you. So this was the next level up, learning how to get other people on board with it.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, we weren't designed to live this crazy 21st century lifestyle. You wake up, the phone's going off, get the kids to school, do this, or whatever your family situation is, and then just bombarded with this constant typewriter chitter chatter in your brain of just like, you must do this, you must do that, and we all get sort of sucked into it. And people might look at you or me and think, oh yeah, they're living some amazing lifestyle, but actually everyone's going through it, whatever level you're on. And my meditation teacher always, said, think back 12, 15,000 years ago to, this sounds a bit weird, but the hunter-gatherer tribes, you'd live in a little tribe. You would have your purpose because you knew where you were within that group of like 20 or 30 people. You might meet like 200-300 people in your life, or maybe 1,000, absolute max. Walking down your high street, you'll probably meet like 200 people or see 1,000 people within 10 minutes. It's not how we were built. And so it's no surprise when we get into overflow situation and that kind of burnout.
And we've got it on our phone. So not only like are we seeing that many people on the school run, at work, on the tube, on the bus, whatever it might be, but then you're choosing to imbibe more information about other people's lives that we don't even know. And we're taking all of that on. And I think we don't take that seriously enough either. Like there's a brilliant lady that came on this podcast called Melissa Urban, who's all about boundaries. And she calls it, especially when we're looking at phones, energy leakage. So we don't realise that when we're just scrolling and looking at all this stuff, that we're just expelling so much energy, judging other people or trying to put ourselves into some sort of hierarchy based on what other people are doing, what their moral compass is, or just whatever it might be. It's all expelling energy. And then we wonder why we're constantly knackered, constantly fatigued, depleted, yet can't sleep. Yet can't sleep. So we're knackered in the day, yet can't sleep at night. I think that seems to be this new normal we're in. And if we're not careful, that's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I'm really interested in talking about meditation in this way, because I think, again, we can read all the wellness books or look on wellness websites and it's very like, do yoga, do meditation, eat like this. And it all seems quite surface. But actually, when we really root down and look at how these things can help us, they can be game-changing, absolutely game-changing. But the one thing we have to do, I guess, is have an element of discipline, because your practice is very disciplined, I believe. What, are you meditating twice a day?
Yeah.
So is it, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
End of each day?
20 minutes, yeah.
And just to point out, you've also got 4 sons, so it's not like you've not got a lot going on at home, but this is a commitment that you've made.
Yeah, and that when I teach meditation, one of the main things over the 3 days that you learn is how to bed that into your lifestyle, and that's the main thing that. Well, there's two things that people come with. Robbie, you're never going to be able to teach me to meditate because my mind is just too busy. I'm like, I've got the busiest mind in the country, and but that is that's easily solved. And the second thing is, how am I going to fit it into my day? I work 9 to 5. And then I'm straight into dinner time and this and that, and it's like. Yeah, but you've got time to watch half an hour of Netflix, or you've got time to scroll on your phone. And I'm not judging on phones. I'm on Instagram. I look at Instagram. I watch Netflix. I drink coffee. I used to drink alcohol until very recently. So none of those things are bad. I don't sort of judge on those. But you can make that time. And making that time twice a day is a total game changer. All that stuff that you're talking about, imagine your brain is filling up, or you're that vessel that's filling up. Through meditating twice a day, or as often as you can, and that starts to come down. And essentially, there's many great things that come out of meditation, but one of them is digesting stress, and that's one of the biggest things. And you might find when you first learn that you're actually slumped over when you're meditating because you're so exhausted. You've got this deep fatigue in you that you didn't even know, and it's such a nice feeling because you're suddenly releasing all of that, deep rooted fatigue and stress. So. Yeah, it's I'd say out of all the wellness things, and it's not like I've tried every single thing, but there's breath work, there's yoga, there's everything. Meditation. If you're feeling overwhelmed, I do believe that is the one that you should try and pick up.
Yeah, and so let's talk about this concept of. And I've thought it myself when I first started meditating many years ago, and I'm on and off the bandwagon constantly. Like, I'm not disciplined. I'm really disciplined in other areas. Meditation, I sometimes still will use when I think I'm reaching overwhelm. So maybe I'll meditate twice a week, like at the moment, and then I'll have a period where I will do it every day, or I'll do a course, so I'm like really on track. But I know I'm interested in talking to you today because I know I'll go away later on and think, I'm going to start doing this every day again. I need those constant prompts. But when I first was introduced to it in my late teens, I was that person who was like, well, I can't empty all the thoughts out my head. But that's actually not what we're trying to do here, is it? How would you, if someone came to you and said, I can't do it. I've still got so many thoughts and things going on in my brain when I'm sat there. What would you say to them?
Yeah, well, first you need to choose your technique. So without getting too deep into it, some are mantra techniques. So you're using a word or a sound that you're following. So that takes you away from those distracting thoughts.
Is that transcendental?
That is the root of transcendental, yeah. And the technique I teach, which is One Giant Mind, is very similar. So yeah, it's a mantra-based technique. There's other ones like staring at a candle or an object. There's staring into a loved one's eyes and holding hands, and there's so many different types of meditation. Even things like surfing or tennis could be seen as meditation. So there's obviously traditional meditation, and there's other things that get you into a meditative state. But if you want to learn, choose a technique that's quite simple and effortless. And the one that I teach, and transcendental is quite a simple one to learn. And through that just takes you into that space where you do. It's not like you if you imagine you're stood on a train platform. You become the witness of your thoughts rather than getting caught up in them. So you see your thoughts going past like trains. Some of them are very fast, speedy thoughts, like what am I having for tea? What time are the kids getting home? Oh, I wish I'd not sat in this chair. It's a bit uncomfortable. Other of them are longer sort of trains going past, like, oh God, I really didn't like Frank at work, and it's really stressing me out. Sorry, Frank.
Frank's such an arsehole.
Yeah, so the Frank situation is ongoing, and so you're seeing your thoughts, but all the different techniques of meditation are about increasing your awareness, your consciousness, and so you become very aware of that's just a thought. That's a negative. Jealousy, envy. All those things start to fade away, and you suddenly you're like 3 months later you'll be like, actually Frank at work, he's not such a bad guy. I was just sort of putting something on him that wasn't actually true. So by sticking with it, within a couple of weeks you'll start to notice some differences in how you're so much more aware of how you're feeling, and you can actually detach yourself from your thoughts, and you realise that the mind is a thinking machine, so it's going to think constantly if you're not doing anything with it. But when you're meditating, you're kind of becoming aware of those thoughts, and you're sort of falling below them. Imagine the surface of the sea is all your thoughts, and through meditating, you're diving down in your little meditation submarine. You're going down deeper, and then you get to the seabed, and that's where the transcendental name comes from, because you're transcending through your thoughts. You're transcending through all of that and getting into that deep, lovely space that you will know from meditating. And sometimes you only get that for like 2 seconds. You might do a 20-minute meditation. You're not sat there for 20 minutes in this blissful, euphoric state. Maybe some monks who have been sat in a cave for 30 years might be, but it's not really like that. You sort of come in and out of it. So you have thoughts and you get back into your mantra, you dive down again, then some thoughts come in and you gently come back to your mantra, and then you get to that point of transcendence, which is just pure bliss. And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, it's incredible. And like you say, what it's actually doing outside of your practice is cultivating awareness, because all the problems we get into, whether it's with other people or circumstance, is because we're reacting off the mark. We're not having that moment, that pause to step back and go, oh, this is what I'm even thinking, or this is why I'm feeling this way. We're just reacting to everything very quickly.
Yeah.
And actually meditation outside of the practice helps you to have that pause to go to see the thing for what it is and go, oh, that's why this is happening. That's why I'm feeling this, rather than being sort of lost in it. I think we all have those moments. I can be a real hothead and be so lost in a circumstance and a feeling or a thought. But if I can take that step back and that pause, that's where you get the moment to see everything with a bit more clarity, I think.
Exactly, yeah. And that's again, without getting too technical, that's employing your witness. So you're witnessing, and this is, so you're meditating with your eyes closed for the eyes open results. And
nice.
So what it means is, you're meditating twice a day, which is a lovely thing within itself, and that's where the magic's happening. But it's when you open your eyes and you go about your daily life, and then you have your Frank moment, and you're like, well, actually, hold on, is Frank such a wally? Like, actually, he's an all right guy, or, that relationship there will start to make sense, or you'll start to get less. I used to get so envious of like stupid things like other people's lineups. I'd look at the Boomtown lineup or the Big Chill lineup and go, oh, they got Kanye West, or they got like this, and months of feeling like so wound up about it, being quite competitive, and now that's all fallen away. I can't think of the last time I got envious or jealous of someone, which is it's quite weird for me still, because 5 years ago, especially 10 years ago, I'd have been very like competitive, envious, jealous, and so things like that do fall away. It's putting the time in, putting the practice in.
Yeah, but that couldn't be a better reason to start meditating. For those feelings that none of us like feeling, whether it's anger, envy, jealousy, spite, all of those things, for those to go, that's a gift. I mean, not only are we all wasting energy getting into arguments or even just internal arguments in our head because of those feelings.
Yeah.
It just feels shit. It's just not very nice. So to know that it is possible, no matter who you are, what your background, what your upbringing's been, to know that meditation can help that stuff fall away. Yeah. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, those sort of negative mind loops, that we all have of like, oh, it's a really bad situation. It can ruin your sleep. It can last for months, can't it? You can be thinking about one thing and then you find out that actually you got totally the wrong end of the stick and you've just wasted 3 months of your energy on that. Again, my meditation teacher has this analogy of a toothbrush, which is a little odd, dental hygiene.
Hit me, go on.
So, the one he uses, and I did look this up to check if it's true, and I think it is, but, 150, 200 years ago, toothbrushes didn't really exist. I'm not sure toothpaste did. Possibly people were using, like, little sticks to clean their teeth. But, overnight, when they invented dental hygiene, then people were suddenly the amount of people that were dying, because I think, people, it would be like one of the main causes of death in Victorian London after plague and stuff. It would be like, things going wrong with your mouth because you didn't have a toothbrush and a toothpaste. And so suddenly that was totally reinvented. And it's a bit like that, like why we want to brush our teeth twice a day or sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. We can't go to bed without doing that. And meditation for me is like that. I get up in the morning, I brush my teeth, I have cold shower. Oh, aren't I a good boy? And then, and then I will meditate, and it's part of my daily routine, like brushing my teeth. And I do think, in hundreds of years' time or 50 years' time, people will look back and go, how could they think they could survive that onslaught of 21st century life without cleaning their minds? And that's what we're doing through meditating is cleaning our minds essentially, and digesting that stress and bringing ourselves back into the day with a new mind, with a new clean mind. And
this isn't a new concept. This has been around for thousands of years. I think we've regressed in so many ways in terms of how we're looking after how we're not looking after ourselves. And I guess also culturally, what we're having to go against the grain with is this celebration of busyness, is that we constantly will all be sort of boasting about how busy we are or how absolutely wrecked we are with tiredness. And to admit that you've actually given yourself a chance to stop feels completely wrong. We'd never go, oh yeah, I've just been chilling out today. We don't like to say that. And I think we have to go against the grain and go, it's okay not to be busy. I know in my own life, if I get a day off work, I've not got to record anything, or I'm up to date with all my editing on books or whatever, I feel really uncomfortable thinking about doing nothing.
Yeah.
I feel guilt come in. I think about my mum having 3 jobs when I was growing up. And I think, how can I choose to not do anything or choose to just lie about or whatever? And I think we're all in that sort of cycle of feeling quite guilty, rather than this is helping me out, and therefore I'm then a better person to be around for my family, for my work colleagues. It's sort of helping everyone, but we're in such a mess with how much we celebrate busyness.
Yeah, and I think it is changing a bit. I mean, again, your listeners are probably younger than Margaret Thatcher's sort of age group, but obviously than the age group, but they might not even have heard of her. But she used to, I've only had 4 hours sleep, and I'm like, blah, 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 and we all, people would be like, yes, right, 4 hours sleep, that's the way forward, and it's. Yeah, if you look at things like where people live for the longest, they're in parts of Japan or Sicily or wherever it is, that they're getting plenty of sleep, they're eating well, they're resting, they're having big community things, they're meditating possibly, or doing some sort of mindfulness activities, and that's where. And so if we look up for a minute and go, hold on a sec, do I want to live to 80, 90, 100? That's I need to really start maybe. Accepting that, but I still get sucked into that. I might have meditated in the morning, but I'll still be like, right, millions of emails, do this, do that, and I thrive off being busy as well. But I suppose it's just trying to find that balance.
Yeah, I think the balance is key, isn't it? It's essential. And you touched on this earlier, but you moved to the Isle of Wight. How long ago now?
About 10 years ago. I'm really bad at timings, as you'll
So you made this move. That was part of your decision making to sort of have a life that was a little less stressful and fast paced, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, we were doing Bestival on the Isle of Wight.
Yeah.
So obviously that helped that we'd spent a lot of time there. I think we just had our 3rd kid / son. And which didn't really make much difference. It's just that our postage size garden in London was sort of getting a bit outgrown, and so having a bit of space, being by the sea. I grew up by the sea. I really miss not being by the sea. I know you're a bit of a.
I love being by the sea.
Yeah,
but this is it. If anyone follows you on Instagram, they will have seen you on multiple occasions, even on the coldest day of the year, the middle of January. You'll be in the sea, just loving that cold water. What has that brought to your life?
Well, again, I mean, it's a daily practice, which I'm lucky enough to live literally right next to the sea, so I've got no excuse really.
Yeah, you have to get in.
yeah. I mean, I would be doing cold showers or whatever if not, but I'll get stressed like anyone. I might be a meditation teacher. I might look like I'm living some sort of wellness lifestyle, but I get stressed just like everyone else. And as soon as I get into the water, then I just notice that everything changes. And I'm not some kind of Wim Hof ice warrior where I'll be in there for like 30 minutes or whatever. 2 minutes is fine for me. And actually Wim says, 2 minutes is actually a totally ample amount of time to expose your body to that cold. And please don't ask me some tricky scientific question about.
I haven't got anything of the sort lined up.
But yeah, I mean, you know, it does magical things to your body and mind, and you know, resets you. So a bit like, yeah, you know, meditating, you come out feeling like you've just been unwrapped. You feel like fresh and ready to go again. So it's a real game changer.
But that also combined with sauna culture. This is something that you've recently got bang into. You've even got your own, what's it called, this sauna? Slow motion sauna. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a Johnny come lately on the old sauna front. Maybe I've you know, obviously had saunas for life, but never really sort of realised how big the wave was that was coming in the UK. And obviously anyone who's got a Finnish origins or Scandinavian origins or Russian or whatever, they'll be listening going, you know, man, we've been doing this for like eons. But, you know, even in Ireland or Scotland, they've been, you know, sitting in stone built sort of caves and getting hot and realising the benefits of it. So yeah, I bought a sauna randomly in June last year. I didn't really have the money. My mate said, I'm buying 2. If we get a third one, everyone's going to save. And I said to Josie, and she was like, well, I don't really get it, but yeah, let's go for it. And 7 months later, it's like, whoa, I am just like a sauna nerd, sauna bore. And part of this huge explosion of mobile pop-up saunas and sauna culture that's happening in the UK. It's
You've just done a pop-up in London for how did that go? People seem to receive that well.
Yeah, it was sold out on the first day. It's huge. I mean, again, if you're listening and maybe, you know, maybe you're thinking, oh, I might try meditation, or, you know, try saunas as well, because actually they are transformative. You know, sitting in the sauna, my 13-year-old son Miller, who because we when the sauna's not going around the Isle of Wight or London or wherever it is, we have it on the drive and we fire it up, and it's become a bit of a family thing. And we're not some cute family where us and the 4 kids are like, oh yeah, let's go and do a day trip here, or, you know, we argue and fight like any family. And I was surprised that suddenly we're sat in the sauna with like 2, 3 or all 4 kids, and everyone's like getting on and having a lovely time, sweating away together. And,
love it.
And the 13-year-old turned around and he said, Dad, what I love about this is that I'm not thinking. And I realised that that's really true. And so I probably like meditating where you're not thinking, or you shouldn't be, if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Then, you know, in the sauna as well, you're not really thinking. You can't be on your phone in there. It's this escape, this lovely escape. And I think, you know, in Finland, Saturday night is family sauna night. You know, they're not all sat around the goggle box watching. Gogglebox. They are. They're in the sauna together, and it's this amazing, wonderful sort of family thing or friends thing, and you just sit in there for an hour, and it feels like you kind of escape. So it's I've become quite addicted to it.
Yeah, my brother's bang into saunas. He's absolutely obsessed by them. I think he finds that same level of total peace when he's in there, and also just understanding how good it is for you physically, but also recently I went down to Richie Norton's place. Richie, who we absolutely love. Richie's at the Happy Place Festival most years. I think he's done stuff with you, is he, as well?
Yeah, he does camp most years, yeah.
And he's done bits at Glastonbury. He's an amazing yoga teacher, breathwork teacher. He does a bit of everything, but he really knows what he's doing. He runs beautiful retreats as well. And I went down to his place. I've never been on a retreat, which is perhaps surprising, but I've never been on one. So I went to a day retreat. This is the closest I've ever been to going on a retreat. Probably for all the reasons I've just explained. I'm too busy, I can't go on a retreat, I haven't got 4 days to go on a retreat. But I went down to his place for a day, and a lot of it was based around breathing, but also dealing with sort of high temperatures and very cold temperatures. Yeah. So we would do sauna, cold water, sauna again. And really what I came away with was the understanding that when you're in a sauna for almost an uncomfortable amount of time, when you think, oh, I want to get out now, I'm too hot and I just can't cope with it. That for your mind is, and similarly with very cold water, such a brilliant practice to go, I can cope with this. I just need to calm myself down and get these thoughts in a row rather than because I can go into panic very quickly, and just know that you're safe and know that you're okay.
Yeah.
And everything starts to slow down. But actually, I think, again, when you look at, like we were looking at meditation outside of the practice, looking at this sort of heat or very cold thing outside of the practice is the ability to deal with stress a lot better because you're having to deal with it in quite a physical way in the heat or in the cold.
Totally, yeah. And I because I've only been doing it regularly for less than a year, and that feeling when you've been in there for 10 minutes and it's 80 degrees or 85 degrees and you're starting to get this real panic on, like going, I have to get out, have to cool down, and you don't fight through that, but you kind of get through it, and you never sit in there for too long, and then you're out and you're like, oh dear, I've got to get in the ice bath. and then like 2 minutes into the ice bath, you're like, got to get out.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to get back in the heat, and that becomes quite addictive. But yeah, like you say, it's building up your stress response really amazingly. Also, you'll start realizing that you can walk around in the winter in a t-shirt rather than with loads of jumpers and coats on. We spend far too much time sitting in central heated rooms with loads of jumpers on and cozy cafes and stuff, when actually we were built to kind of be outside a bit more. So even on that level, but there's so many amazing benefits of sauna.
I wonder if also, I'm sort of thinking on my feet here, but I think it probably helps with another problem that we've got in the modern age, which is a huge lack of patience. Because, like you're saying there, when you're in extreme heat or extreme cold, your first thought is, well, I don't want this, I want to get out, and I can, so I'm going to do it, rather than persevering. And I think so much of our lives these days revolves around that. I'm hungry, I want something now, I'm going to get a very, very quick fast food delivery or whatever it might be, or I don't like this TV show, or I don't like these adverts, I'll fast forward them. We have such convenience in terms of just getting through stuff we don't want to have to deal with and just going, nope, or I don't want to queue, I'm not going to stand waiting. Whereas back in the 80s, we had to queue for everything, or, even to buy music, you'd be waiting outside a shop to get it. Now, you click your phone and it's there. So I think one of our big problems is patience is just dwindling by the second. Yeah. And if you look at any of these practices, whether it's breathwork, meditation, these exposure to hot or cold, you're having to cultivate patience because you're sitting through the discomfort of something you don't necessarily want to do.
That is very perceptive, Miss Cotton. I like that. I'm going to use that. You should do podcasts.
It must be something. I think it must help with that.
No, it totally does. I went to there's a banya, which is a sort of Russian style of sauna in London, and the guy there, Andre, he said to me, don't rush from the sauna into the ice, and then back into the sauna and then back into the ice, because that's our natural instincts. Like, right, okay, I can do this. Yeah, I'm really getting really hot. I'm getting really cold. Brilliant. But he said the magic actually happens in the sort of 20 minutes where you sit outside or just sit there and just have a cup of tea in between. And actually, I went for a 3-hour session with him and I thought, how am I going to last 3 hours? We only went in the sauna twice for like 20 minutes at a time. The rest of the time was sitting around, drinking tea, relaxing. It was literally one of the most relaxing things I've ever done. So,
wow.
Yeah,
but when are we told to do something slowly? Never.
No.
It's constantly like, why have you not emailed me back? Why is this person not texting me? They must have died. Like we're everything has to be so quick. I don't remember the last time someone said to me, really take your time with this. I can't remember a time. If anything, I'm constantly too slow with everything, even though I feel like I'm racing through the day. No one ever says to us, just do this one thing real slow. We could benefit from that.
Do you think that's changing, though? Can you see any...
No, I think in tiny ways, but I think the problem is so big now and so global that we've really got to keep talking about this stuff and like looking to I can't think of the author. There's that beautiful book, Things You Notice When You Slow Down.
Oh yeah.
Or like there's a great book I've got in here actually by Erling Kagger called Silence, which is all about stillness and quiet and slowness. But we don't celebrate slowness, or we certainly don't tell anyone, like your friend did, to do something very slowly. It's such an alien concept that I think we need to just take heed of. I'm saying it for myself more than anyone. Like, I need to maybe move through, even just today, at a slower pace.
I'm just thinking about the rest of my day, thinking, how can I do that slightly slower? But,
well, you've got to drive to Scotland, so
yeah.
You need to be quick.
with Mum Sue sat in your kitchen.
With your lovely Mum Sue. No, I think it's really important, and the way the world's going and how our concentration spans are just totally obliterated by all this like fast content. I think the more we can celebrate slowness and look at activities that help us cultivate that, the better.
No, and you're totally right. And the trouble is, it sort of leaches into our kids, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They see mum and dad
rushing,
or whoever it is, rushing around, never a minute to sit down, and they think that's the way. So yeah, I'm behind your plan. Let's go slow.
Yeah, let's do it. This is the slow revolution, guys.
Yeah,
it's the super snail speed revolution. Rob, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you for all of your brilliant Yoga Nidra contribution on the Happy Place app. We absolutely love having you as part of the family, and keep doing what you're doing.
No, thank you so much for having us. It's very, very esteemed to be here.